Hello, Stephen White from SteveArts89. We have some Patrick Stewart series news. It's good. Basically, Netflix has walked away from the Patrick Stewart series, which I'm very proud of them for because uh, Alex Kurtzman and the Secret Hideout studio basically screwed them over with Discovery by selling them what they thought they were getting was an original series when they didn't actually have the rights to the licensing and the rights to actually deliver that 100% Star Trek, the original series. Instead, they got a 50 to 75% Star Trek, which was not well received by fans, not very successful, and didn't give them all the lucrative merchandising and ratings and streaming, all the things that they were promised, they didn't get because basically they lied to them in the first place and said they didn't, that they had the had the rights to Star Trek when they didn't. So they've walked, and now Amazon Prime has taken over, and they are going to distribute the series internationally. 200 countries outside of the US and Canada, so basically everyone outside of the US and Canada will be able to see Patrick Stewart's new Picard series 24 hours after it premieres in the US. So I'm very glad that I don't have to pay for CBS Channel 10 All Access. CBS bought Channel 10 in Australia, and then they very quickly brought out a 10 All Access, which is basically the same idea as the CBS All Access, but they're not getting the rights, as far as I can tell, from for the new Patrick Stewart Picard series. There's a very small chance they might still do that, but they just didn't mention anything in the announcement. But you would think they would say, if there were any countries outside of the US that weren't getting it, just like the US and Canada, they would say US, Canada and Australia. So I'm pretty sure that since we have Amazon Prime here in Australia for streaming, that we will get it. So that's good. It's good. It's bad that it's going ahead because the series isn't a continuation of Next Generation. It's not Captain Patrick's Patrick Stewart's Captain Picard. I can't speak. It's only 12 a.m. In Australia, but I don't know, 12 p.m. in Australia, but I cannot talk at the moment. Okay, but the downside is they're still making the show with the same people. So Alex Kurtzman, and his idea of Star Trek, which has been cemented since I think Into Darkness, and certainly in Discovery, is Star Trek isn't an optimistic future. It's a dark, bleak, nihilistic, brutal, rapey, cannibalistic future like Discovery was, and it aspires to be Star Trek. So they go through all this dark crap, and then at the end they go, "Oh, this is where we should be. This is what we should aspire to be. That's Star Trek." And then they just go back the next season and repeat the same dark, violent, nihilistic, not Star Trek, not utopian ideas, and then again get to the light and then aspire to be Star Trek again. They did that in each of the Star Trek films. It was action and darkness and miserable, and then at the end we're going to boldly go in the next film, and then the next film they started off in the darkness again, and then came up to the boldly go, and then back down to the darkness. And after 3 movies, fans realize, oh, they're never actually going to boldly go and actually explore anything. It's just going to be the same crap over and over again. And even though they tried a bit harder with the last film to actually have some unity and some of the themes from the original Star Trek in it, they still destroyed the Enterprise, had everyone stuck on a planet being killed by aliens, and it was just a miserable experience, and it bombed. They're not making any more Star Trek films. Not anytime soon, and certainly not with the same people and the same cast and all that. That's all dead because they did the same thing over again. And they did the same thing with Discovery, and they're going to do the same thing with Patrick Stewart. Basically what he said is they're going to do a psychological show. It's going to be a character study of an older protagonist, which is unique for a series. They're acting like it's a creative decision. Patrick Stewart is like 80 years old. They don't have a choice. He's the only person they could do this with. They were desperate to do something about Discovery failing. So they thought everyone wants a post-Nemesis Star Trek series with Patrick Stewart, so let's get Patrick Stewart and do a series. But they still don't have the rights to Next Gen fully. So they have to do this Discoverse future version of Next Gen where Picard is like not Picard and he's dark and miserable and not a part of Starfleet and running around with renegades, and it's going to be probably as bad as season 1 of Discovery until the fans tell them what to do. Discovery season 1 was awful, the fans complained, they listened to some of it, changed some things, brought in Pike, brought in Spock, brought in the Enterprise, changed the tone a little bit, made it a little bit lighter, and it was a lot better and it did a bit better. That's because the fans told them what to do because they had no clue. Same thing might happen with Picard. We're going to get Logan, Picard, the Logan version of Picard, and then maybe we might get something decent after that. I don't know. But so the good thing is I don't have to pay to watch it to bitch about it or hate it. I don't have to pay to hate watch it. I have no confidence that I'm going to be surprised that it's going to be good, from what I've heard. And the other thing with Netflix is there were a lot of issues with, apparently, rumours were suggesting that one of the reasons why Netflix was going to walk away, which they did, was because Kurtzman and that were producing it in the Discovery style, and they would not change any of the visuals, any of the style, anything to be more like Next Gen, which is what they wanted. They wanted a Next Gen series, a post-Next Gen, post-Nemesis series, to continue the next generation on, which people wanted to see. They just wanted, us Star Trek fans just want Star Trek again. We wanted to go back to the Next Gen after Nemesis and just follow the series as it would have progressed. And they promised that because they knew that's what we wanted and we'd pay for it, but now they're not delivering it because they can't deliver it because they don't have the rights, because they haven't sorted that mess out. The mess that was made when they went into the films with JJ, and then CBS was going to do a new Star Trek series with the full rights because they owned them, but instead of doing that, Bad Robot and the people from that, who couldn't make the movies because they couldn't get the funding, wanted to keep the Star Trek name for the licensing and for the potential marketing and merchandising, convinced them to let them produce the new series with the copyright that they had bought from the TV. Actually, no, I think it was a third copyright, and it had to adhere to being 25% different from the original Star Trek, Prime, the real Star Trek, and the Prime Star Trek from JJ's. So what we got in Discovery was Star Trek twice removed, so about 50% Star Trek. And yeah, I can't see Patrick Stewart's series being much better, and I'm really disappointed that he's doing it. I know he can't get much work because of his age, but he does not need the money. He's got 20 years to live, and he's really, really rich. I don't know why the hell he needs a few $100 million from this series, unless he's going to donate it to some amazing charity, which in case I can forgive him. I don't know why he's screwing over his character and screwing over the fans, and that's what it looks like he's doing. No, I haven't seen a single frame of the show yet, but I've seen every episode of Discovery, and I know what their intentions are. I know what they want. I know what they're thinking. I know what they plan. They don't know what Star Trek is. They think Star Trek is... They don't know what Star Trek is. They just know if they make a general science fiction show, slap Star Trek on it, they'll get some fans, some people curious because they've watched Star Trek before, some people who don't know what Star Trek is but recognise the name, and just general science fiction fans and people who just will watch whatever the newest thing on Netflix is, will watch it. They'll watch it once, they'll forget about it. So they're making it for the streaming channel just to have a new series on the streaming service, but it's not going to have the fan following of the original Star Trek. It's not going to have the support of the fans. It's not going to have the merchandising opportunities. It's not going to make the kind of money. It's going to die a fairly painful death, much like Season 1 of Discovery did, and like Season 2 kind of half did. People only watched it for Pike and that, and he's gone now. So Season 3, unless they do something drastic, is going to just be a repeat of Season 1 and even darker, because they're going to end up in the future, and you can bet the Federation will be destroyed and they have to rebuild it or do something to create their own franchise basically out there, and it's just, I've got nothing good to say. But yeah, what else? I had a few little notes. No, just it. That's it. Yep. So Patrick Stewart announced on, I think, Twitter that this was happening, and now everyone's picking it up and doing articles about it. And there's very little details other than, it's just US and Canada that will you have to US and Canada will have it on CBS All Access. Everyone else will have it on Amazon Live, Prime Live, and yeah, that's it. I don't have any other news. Except the only other thing which I forgot to talk about earlier was that there is now what would they call it? A global franchise group which was launched by CBS. This is to promote Star Trek outside of the actual shows, with things like podcasts and reinvigorating the website and all that sort of, all the stuff the fans have been doing for years that they weren't doing because they were behind the ball. So that's happening. And that's it. So okay, I'm just going to leave it there. Like I said, not optimistic at all. Glad I won't have to pay to see the train wreck. But the train wreck's still going to happen, and it's painful to watch. Like it is now to watch Spock in the Leonard Nimoy in the JJ films, knowing that he's been tricked into playing a different version of his character to trick fans into thinking they're watching the original canon Star Trek